The line at 0923. At 0923 on June 14th, the USS Princeton was running a routine freedom of navigation patrol in the South China Sea when her SPY radar caught something worth watching. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer, which had been loitering 200 kilometers out, suddenly accelerated from 18 to 30 knots in under 90 seconds. Her captain had just gotten new orders from Beijing: close on the Americans and make them break first. The Nimitz carrier strike group, 180 nautical miles from the nearest Chinese territory, was doing what it had done for 75 years, keeping open the sea lanes that move $3.4 trillion a year in trade. Predictable course, transparent intentions, professional conduct throughout. By 0926, the destroyer had been positively classified, threat level moderate to high. In the Princeton's Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer watched the vector on the scope. At current speed, the Chinese ship would reach weapons range in 17 minutes. Her YJ-18 missiles could close the final distance in under 4. The Princeton's SM-6s, with a reach of over 240 nautical miles, could answer long before that became a problem. At 0929, the captain asked for the destroyer's probable intent. 14 minutes to weapons release, came the answer. The recommendation was general quarters. The captain wasn't ready to give the Chinese ship that satisfaction yet. Let's see how badly they want to embarrass themselves first. The sea around them was busy. 46 commercial vessels within 50 miles, a Singaporean container ship loaded with semiconductors, a South Korean LNG tanker worth $200 million, all moving on the assumption that these waters stayed open. By 0930, the Princeton's cooperative engagement capability had pushed the threat picture across the whole strike group. The Nimitz adjusted flight operations without missing a beat. The destroyers cheat. Ung Hoon and Kidd shifted to screen the carrier. At 0935, the picture got more complicated. An E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at 25,000 feet picked up multiple aircraft launching off the Chinese carrier Shandong, J-15 fighters, climbing hard to the south. They were struggling for altitude, a side effect of launching off a ski jump deck with reduced fuel. A minute later, sonar picked up a submerged contact 80 miles out, an acoustic signature consistent with a Type 039 diesel-electric boat, running loud enough to be heard well outside its own comfort zone. It was a multi-domain show of force, but mounted with equipment that wasn't built for the job: a 1990s-era destroyer, carrier aircraft that couldn't launch with a full load, and a submarine broadcasting its own position. The kind of pressure that only works on someone who won't push back. By 0937, the Nimitz flight deck was in motion. FA-18E Super Hornets went off the catapults at 45-second intervals, climbing through 15,000 feet with their APG-79 AESA radars already tracking the incoming J-15s at long range. The gap wasn't just hardware. The American jets shared a single sensor picture over Link 16, so one aircraft's radar contact was every aircraft's radar contact. The Chinese formation worked over voice comms and individual scopes, which meant staying bunched up just to keep visual contact and being predictable because of it. EA-18G Growlers entered the fight without firing anything. Their jamming pods went to work, and Chinese radar screens filled with ghosts, contacts, splitting, merging, vanishing, reappearing, until 4 FA-18s looked like 20, and nothing on the scope could be trusted. The Americans settled into a layered defensive spread: high combat air patrol at 35,000 feet, medium at 25,000, low at 15,000, with overlapping fields of fire and no gap for anyone to slip through. At 0943, an RC-135 rivet joint, WWs. Hitch had been on station for 6 hours cataloguing every Chinese emission. Picked up something almost funny: Chinese pilots requesting permission before making aggressive passes. By the time any approval came back, the tactical situation would already have changed 3 times over. At 0947, the Chinese destroyer crossed the real line. Her Type 3446, a fire control radar locked onto the Nimitz itself. In naval terms, that's a hand resting on the trigger. Inside the Princeton CIC, the response was immediate and disciplined. Fire control radars stayed in standby, missiles stayed cold, and every targeting solution against the Chinese ship was quietly refreshed and logged. The lock held for 30 seconds, long enough to make a point, not long enough to justify a response, before it dropped. The Princeton's crew recorded every second of it. Timestamps, bearings, signal data. In the air, one J-15 pilot broke formation for a close, aggressive pass on an FA-18, the kind of move meant to rattle a less experienced flyer. The American pilot rolled inverted, pulled in behind him, and held a clean firing solution for 3 full seconds. He didn't take the shot. Discipline held there too. The submarine made the last move. At 09:51, needing to recharge batteries, the Type 039 raised its snorkel, and the Princeton's sonar operators, who'd had it localized for the better part of an hour, logged the contact without surprise. If shots had been fired, the boat would have had about 12 seconds warning before an ace rock found it. By early afternoon, the picture was a case study in overreach. A carrier to the northwest, a destroyer to the west, a submarine to the southwest, none of them positioned to survive an actual exchange. At 14:30, the Nimitz launched a full-deck cycle, 48 aircraft, the largest single launch in years, Super Hornets with live loadouts, Growlers, Hawkeyes overhead. The Growlers went active first, turning Chinese radar displays into noise. Real contacts and false ones became indistinguishable. Then, at 15:47, a Virginia-class attack submarine that had been shadowing the Chinese formation undetected for 8 days surfaced 6 nautical miles from the Shandong, close enough for lookouts to see her with the naked eye. 8 days of Chinese anti-submarine effort, helicopters and sonar buoys included, hadn't found a 7,900-ton boat. She held the surface for 90 seconds, long enough to be seen and photographed, then slipped back under. In the air, the J-15s, already fuel short from their climb-out, couldn't sustain turning fights with Super Hornets flying at full combat weight. One after another, they broke off for the Shandong, landing on fumes. By 16:23, the Chinese strike group was withdrawing, officially concluding scheduled exercises. What they'd actually gotten was a demonstration that showing up loud isn't the same as showing up ready, and a reminder of just how much water the US Navy still considers its own backyard.